What if your reflection wasn't really you? 12-year-old Liam thought it was just another boring Tuesday at Hillcrest Elementary, but when he wandered down a hallway that had been closed off for years, he found something strange, a dusty old mirror that smiled before he did. Since that day, nothing felt normal. Lights flickered only around him, whispers echoed when no one was speaking, and in every mirror, every window, he saw someone else staring back. No one believed him, except Sarah. But what they uncovered in the school's forgotten records pointed to a boy who disappeared decades ago, right in front of that same mirror. Now Liam is seeing double, and when he looks into the glass, something inside is looking back. Don't blink, don't turn away, because the moment you do, it gets out.
Before we begin the full story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Pastportal, your doorway to forgotten truths and chilling mysteries. Your support means everything to us. To everyone who's already liked, commented, subscribed, and shared, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We hope this story brings you not only entertainment, but a sense of wonder, reflection, and discovery. May you always be surrounded by light, clarity, and courage, wherever your path may lead. Now, let's open the portal and step into the unknown. The rain had not stopped since morning. Clouds hung low over Hillcrest Elementary, and the sound of water pelting the glass windows gave the school a quiet, sleepy mood. Most students had already gathered in their classes, but 12-year-old Liam wandered the halls alone, clutching a library book tight against his chest. He had always been curious about the West Wing, the hallway no one ever talked about. The teachers called it off-limits. Some said it was due to construction that never finished, while others simply changed the subject whenever it came up. That day, however, something about the stillness in the air pulled him toward it. The usual chatter of children and clatter of shoes was absent there, replaced by an eerie calm that made the hairs on Liam's neck rise. He stopped at the hallway's entrance, unsure if he should continue. Dust blanketed the tiles, and cobwebs swayed gently from ceiling corners. A dim light flickered above, revealing a long corridor of sealed lockers and forgotten bulletin boards. At the far end, half covered by a curtain of grime, hung a tall mirror. It stood strangely upright on the wall, its surface smeared and cracked. Something about it felt off, misplaced, like it was never meant to be there. Liam stepped forward, heart drumming louder with every footfall. As he approached the mirror, he reached up to wipe the glass clean with the sleeve of his jacket. That was when he saw it. His reflection didn't match his movement. While his hand hovered near the glass, the boy in the mirror was already smiling. Liam staggered back, nearly dropping his book. He blinked and shook his head, thinking it was just a trick of the light. But the image didn't go away. The grin on his reflection remained frozen, stretching just a bit too wide. His own lips were shut, yet the one in the mirror grinned like it knew something he didn't. Cold seeped into his fingertips. He turned around, expecting someone to be standing behind him, perhaps a teacher playing a prank. The hallway was empty. Only the sound of the rain remained, muffled and far away. Liam looked back once more, but this time the mirror was blank. No reflection, no smile, just dark glass, as if it had swallowed his image whole.
Liam tried to act normal the rest of the day, but something inside him refused to settle. He didn't tell his friends about the mirror, nor did he approach the West Wing again. But wherever he went, he felt watched. In the cafeteria, his spoon spun on the tray without him touching it. In class, the bulb above his desk flickered every time he glanced toward the window. And in the boys' restroom, as he washed his hands, the mirror above the sink shimmered faintly, like something breathing beneath the glass. Then it happened. He leaned in closer, and before he could blink, his reflection blinked first. It was subtle, almost dismissible, but not to Liam. It wasn't just a reflection, it was something else, something alive. He rushed home after school, shutting every curtain in his room and covering the mirror on his closet door with a towel. That night, he couldn't sleep. Every creak of the house, every whisper of wind outside sounded like footsteps. At one point, he thought he heard a faint knock, 4 slow taps coming from his covered mirror. He didn't move. Morning couldn't come fast enough. When the sun finally rose, he peeled back the towel. Nothing. His own face stared back, pale and tired. Yet he knew, whatever it was, it had seen him, and it wasn't going to forget. Liam spent the next day avoiding his own reflection, walking close to walls and turning his face whenever he passed windows. But the more he avoided them, the more he felt them surround him. At recess, Liam sat under the slide, knees hugged to his chest. His friend Sarah found him there, concern written all over her face. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she said, crouching beside him. Liam hesitated, then decided to tell her everything. As he spoke, her expression shifted from amusement to discomfort, then to fear. When he mentioned the West Wing and the boy in the mirror, she went quiet. Finally, she said something that made Liam's stomach drop. "My cousin went to this school 15 years ago. She told me they closed that hallway after a boy disappeared. No one ever found him, just his shoes, right in front of a mirror." Liam felt the world tilt. The grin in the mirror wasn't just strange, it might not have been his to begin with.
The next morning, Liam and Sarah met early, arriving at school long before the other students. They had made a plan the night before. If the mirror wasn't just a trick, they had to know the truth. Sarah had heard rumors of a locked room behind the library, a place where the school stored old files and maintenance records. They waited until the bell rang and the librarian stepped out for her morning tea, then slipped through the side door, hearts pounding. The room was colder than the hallway, lined with metal cabinets covered in dust. They began searching, fingers brushing over yellowed folders, old yearbooks, and stacks of forgotten papers. Nothing stood out until Liam pulled a worn folder marked West Wing Closure from the bottom of a filing cabinet. Inside, they found brittle documents, some barely legible from age. One report detailed a series of electrical problems in the West Wing, flickering lights, power surges, and unexplained outages. Another page referenced student complaints about distorted reflections and loss of time. But the final sheet froze them in place. It was a missing persons form, dated over 30 years ago. The photo was faded, but the name was clear. Elliot Rowe, age 12, disappeared during class hours, last seen near room W13, the exact location of the cracked mirror. Liam stared at the photo. The face looked eerily familiar, not because he had seen it before, but because it looked like his. The shape of the chin, the eyes, even the slight arch in the eyebrow. It was as if the mirror hadn't just copied his image, it had chosen him. They stuffed the file back into the folder and slipped out, their minds spinning. The school had kept it all quiet. There had been no assemblies, no safety warnings, only silence. Sarah whispered, "What if he never left? What if he's still there, trapped?" Liam couldn't shake the image of the reflection smiling first. He remembered how the glass had gone dark, like it had taken him in. That night, he didn't sleep again. The lights flickered in his room, even with the mirror still covered. Something had been watching for a long time, and now it had noticed him. He didn't know what it wanted, but he felt the pull. Closer, stronger,
with every breath.
Friday arrived under a blanket of gray skies, and Liam felt as if the weight of the entire week had pressed into his chest. The mirror had not appeared again, but its absence made him more anxious than its presence. That evening, just before sunset, he and Sarah returned to the West Wing. The school was quiet, the janitor preoccupied on the other side of the building. Liam's hands trembled as he pushed open the old double doors. Dust swirled in the air, and at the end of the hallway, the cracked mirror waited, no longer dim or forgotten. Its surface gleamed faintly, as if expecting him. Sarah hesitated, but Liam stepped forward, drawn as if on a leash pulled from the other side of the glass. He stopped inches away and stared at his reflection. This time, it stared back with purpose. Liam reached up slowly, breath shallow. His reflection moved in perfect sync at first. Then it smiled again, just like before. But this time, its lips moved silently, forming words Liam couldn't hear. He stepped closer. The mirror rippled, and without warning, a cold hand pressed against the glass from the inside. Liam screamed and stumbled back, but the reflection didn't. It stayed close, watching. Then, as if gravity no longer applied, the figure stepped through the surface. A boy, identical to Liam, but older, sharper, and wrong. His eyes were clouded, his skin pale, and his voice echoed like wind through stone. "You let me in," he whispered. Sarah tried to grab Liam, but he couldn't move. The thing smiled wider, turning its gaze to her. Then, in a swift motion, Liam was gone. He wasn't pulled or dragged. He simply vanished, like a reflection sucked back into the mirror. Sarah screamed, pounding the glass, but the boy beside her grabbed her arm. "It's all right," he said calmly. "I'm here now." It was Liam's voice, Liam's face, but not his eyes. They were too steady, too calm, too practiced. Sarah stumbled back, staring in horror. The boy tilted his head and smiled, the same eerie grin she had seen in the photographs from the record room. Liam was on the other side now, his palms pressed against the dark surface. His mouth moved, but no sound came out, only his eyes screamed. And the new Liam, the mirror's Liam, turned to walk away, leaving the hallway silent once more. Friday arrived under a blanket of gray skies, and Liam felt as if the weight of the entire week had pressed into his chest. The mirror had not appeared again, but its absence made him more anxious than its presence. That evening, just before sunset, he and Sarah returned to the West Wing. The school was quiet, the janitor preoccupied on the other side of the building. Liam's hands trembled as he pushed open the old double doors. Dust swirled in the air, and at the end of the hallway, the cracked mirror waited, no longer dim or forgotten. Its surface gleamed faintly, as if expecting him. Sarah hesitated, but Liam stepped forward, drawn as if on a leash pulled from the other side of the glass. He stopped inches away and stared at his reflection. This time, it stared back with purpose. Liam reached up slowly, breath shallow. His reflection moved in perfect sync at first. Then it smiled again, just like before. But this time, its lips moved silently, forming words Liam couldn't hear. He stepped closer. The mirror rippled, and without warning, a cold hand pressed against the glass from the inside. Liam screamed and stumbled back, but the reflection didn't. It stayed close, watching. Then, as if gravity no longer applied, the figure stepped through the surface. A boy, identical to Liam, but older, sharper, and wrong. His eyes were clouded, his skin pale, and his voice echoed like wind through stone. "You let me in," he whispered. Sarah tried to grab Liam, but he couldn't move. The thing smiled wider, turning its gaze to her. Then, in a swift motion, Liam was gone. He wasn't pulled or dragged. He simply vanished, like a reflection sucked back into the mirror. Sarah screamed, pounding the glass, but the boy beside her grabbed her arm. "It's all right," he said calmly. "I'm here now." It was Liam's voice, Liam's face, but not his eyes. They were too steady, too calm, too practiced. Sarah stumbled back, staring in horror. The boy tilted his head and smiled, the same eerie grin she had seen in the photographs from the record room. Liam was on the other side now, his palms pressed against the dark surface. His mouth moved, but no sound came out, only his eyes screamed. And the new Liam, the mirror's Liam, turned to walk away, leaving the hallway silent once more.
The school eventually sealed the West Wing again. The administration said it was due to structural damage, citing safety concerns and outdated wiring. They didn't mention the mirror. They never do. The hallway was blocked with heavy doors and warning signs, but Sarah knew that none of it mattered. Whatever lived behind that glass didn't need a hallway to return. It only needed a glance, and glances were everywhere. Windows, puddles, polished floors, anything that could reflect light, anything that could hold an image. Sarah started walking with her head down, avoiding her own face at every turn. But she could still feel him, the real Liam, trapped somewhere between silence and shadow, pounding at the other side of the world with fists no one could hear. Weeks passed. Sarah tried to return to normal, but her sleep was never restful, and her footsteps always sounded like echoes. She kept a broken shard of mirror in her drawer, hidden beneath old notebooks and unused pencils. Sometimes, late at night, she'd take it out and hold it to the light. If the room was dark enough and the angle just right, she could see something flicker. A face, pale, scared, but familiar. The shard never showed her own reflection, only his. She didn't tell anyone. Not her parents, not the teachers. Some things, she had learned, were too strange to believe until they happened to you. So she waited, not for rescue, but for the moment the mirror might call her next. Years later, students still whispered about the hallway, about the boy who went missing, about the mirror that moved on its own. Some swore the new science wing felt colder than the rest of the school, even on warm days. A janitor quit after claiming he heard knocking sounds from inside a locked cabinet. But none of the staff took it seriously. They painted over the cracks, replaced the windows, and brightened the halls with posters and cheerful slogans. But Sarah knew better. The mirror never needed a wall to exist. It needed only memory. And memory, once touched by something that doesn't belong, never fades. It waits. It watches. It reflects. Sometimes, the scariest things are not the ones that jump at us in the dark, but the ones that quietly wait behind what we see every day. A hallway we ignore, a reflection that lingers just a little too long, a feeling that someone or something is watching. In life, we often look into mirrors and expect to find ourselves. But what if we see something else? A version of us shaped by fear, regret, or choices we wish we never made. This story reminds us that not everything broken is gone, and not everything quiet is safe. Some truths live in the silence, hiding just beneath the surface of our ordinary routines. We go to school, we come home, we laugh with friends. Yet sometimes, behind the glass of our normal days lies something waiting to be noticed. That is why we must always pay attention, not just to what we see, but to what feels wrong, even when everyone else says it is fine. If this story gave you chills, reflection,
or even just a moment to pause and think, then let it stay with you. Be mindful of what stares back, and never ignore that quiet voice in your heart that says something is not right. Thank you for watching. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and share this video so more people can open the portal and step into the unknown.